Welcome back to Just Chattin', and this is the series of videos we do on Thursday and Sunday evenings just for our own entertainment. So, in case the tale isn't a dead giveaway, we do have Audie here with us this evening. He's been a naughty boy because I have been experimenting with his cat food. He doesn't like the brand he's been eating. It's making him sick. So I've been bringing in new brands, and some of them he likes, some of them he doesn't like. And if he doesn't like them, well, a couple of days ago I found out how he reacts to that. I gave him a brand of cat food he didn't like. He whined. It's like, no, give me something different. And I said, no, this is good for you. It has like immune support in the formula. So I thought, no, he needs to eat this. He needs to eat healthy food. So he refused and said, no, let me out instead. And I did. And when I went out later, I found he had killed a mouse and left it on the steps for me. And I'm not sure what the point of this was. Is he saying, look what you have driven me to. You have forced me to go out and kill vermin for my dinner. Or maybe it was, look, I left you a nice juicy mouse. Why don't you give me the food I want in exchange? So I don't quite know, but yes, he's been a handful lately, mostly because we haven't worked out his diet, and he is perfectly capable of taking his needs outdoors and killing his own dinner, so I rarely win the cat food wars, but I am determined I have to this time, because my boy is getting older and he needs to let me be picky for him and choose the best foods, given the fact that he's getting older and he doesn't seem willing to do that. So that's the Audie news. This is why I complain so much about my bad boy. He is such a little handful. All right, we are going to take a quick look at the intro and we will be right back. So, our pal Nutmeg has just come off an appearance at Fortune magazine's Most Powerful Women Summit. How that happened, I don't know. This is not a powerful woman. This is not a woman who has any influence anywhere, with the exception of that small coterie of fans that she has carefully cultivated. One of whom is apparently stalking the sock puppet, which is very convenient for the sock puppet, since he can use that to show he really does need protection. Amazing how it's one of their own fans that has been caught too close to him on more than one occasion. Yeah, you gotta wonder if there's something going on behind the scenes on that one that we don't know about. If it were a stranger, yeah, maybe it's legitimate stalking. But a fan? Maybe there's someone who's trying to help the sock puppet with his upcoming lawsuit. So, who knows? Anyway, Nutmeg apparently is one of the most powerful women. Who knew, right? And she gave an interview that was very short. It was loaded with industry buzzwords. It was the sort of thing you would expect to hear coming out of the mouth of a 23-year-old MBA student. You know, just shooting off the buzzwords to try to sound like they know what they're talking about. And hey, what can I say? Nutmeg is not 23, and she's not an MBA student, so that kind of puts the average 23-year-old MBA student a bit ahead of her, doesn't it? Anyway, in between that, and talking about suits and the massive staff at her beck and call, and doing calligraphy for all these celebrity weddings, I've only ever heard that she did calligraphy for one celebrity wedding, and it was Paula Patton, Robin Thicke, and all she did was address the envelopes. But and hotels. She apparently did calligraphy for hotels. And here's the thing, if she actually had done any of this, I think we would have heard about it long before this. But she throws in the working at the frozen yogurt shop, which, by the way, her father denies and would have been illegal, but we'll walk away from all of that. The thing that got spit out in the middle of this that is important was, well, at least important in terms of my concerns about where she's going next, is one little line about how she is associated with beauty and fashion. Now, if you will recall, a couple of weeks ago, in the wake of the Bloomberg interview, I hit on that when I talked about the interview. I said, yep, nutmeg, claiming that she is associated with beauty and fashion. In fact, I'm pretty sure I even showed a clip of her saying that. Two mentions, beauty and fashion, and this is what people associate with her. Very quickly, I have to do this just to do justice to our viewers. In the comments to the video I did about the Bloomberg interview, where I spoke about this the first time, I'm going to give you one of the comments that was echoed over and over and over again, and it's simple. What? Yeah, exactly. Nobody thinks she is associated with beauty and fashion. Nobody. Nutmeg apparently would like to be perceived in this way, so naturally she's telling us she is perceived in this way, because I think she believes in sympathetic magic. Neanderthal people believed in sympathetic magic when they were drawing pictures of their successful bison hunts on the cave walls. So yeah, makes sense, doesn't it? This is second mention of this, and we have her just coming back from an appearance at Balenciaga for Fashion Week in Paris. By the way, I have an article in the video notes. Pier Paolo Piccioli. I find that a difficult name. I'm not sure why. It's very simple, straight up. You follow the spelling, you get it. I don't know why I always stumble over it. Anyway, Pier Paolo said that she was at the show because he met her some time ago. She's been texting him ever since. Or maybe someone on her staff has been texting him. After all, how would he know one way or the other? And she mentioned that she would like to go to the show. And he said, well, do come. So yeah, she basically invited herself, even though her Sussex team said that she was there to show support for him because they've worked together over the years and they've collaborated. What? And this is an ongoing relationship. Yeah. Well, we all saw the video, I'm sure, of that very awkward air kiss thing they did, which basically told the whole world they were virtually strangers. Okay, we walk away from that. But now we have two mentions of I am associated with beauty and fashion in the minds of the public, and showing up at Balenciaga's fashion show. Now, when I saw her photos from the fashion show, my first thought was, oh my goodness, I know where she's going next. And when I saw her hair starkly pulled back and her forehead, which is absolutely receding, I said to myself, this is it. She's joining the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. Ha! We know now. Yeah, apparently not. Which is too bad because, I think she's got the look for it these days. Because even though I remember saying in the summer when she was sort of lying low and not making a lot of public appearances that I believed what was going on was more cosmetic surgery. If so, and by the way, I do think there have been some cosmetic procedures taking place. Not really very successful, because she is looking gaunt and haggard. Now, there was a time a number of years ago when I thought Nutmeg was, at the least you could say about her, in fact, it's probably the only thing you could say about her, was she was a pretty woman. Oh, not so much anymore. At this point, she looks every day of her age. Not just the age I believe she is at this point, but the age that many of you who always argue with me believe she is at this point. I think, yeah, boy, if I were just to judge on that picture, I would have to say, sure, she looks 50. And a lot of women in Hollywood in their 50s look a lot better than she does. So yeah, she's definitely losing her looks. And it's important to keep in mind that most of her looks came from cosmetic procedures. Just between the Botox and the cosmetic dentistry and the nose job and heaven only knows what else. No, there's just not enough left. But what I want to follow up on is we're going to take a trip in the Wayback Machine. About 2 years ago, I made a video, and this was in January of 2024, in which I shared with you my belief that 10 years ago, around 2015, when Nutmeg was between husbands, when she had kicked Trevor to the curb, and if the sock puppet was on her radar at that time, which he may have been, she was not on his. So she may have been targeting him, but I don't think he knew it yet. During that period, she was actively scouting for a romantic relationship with a sports player. And I went into my theory in that January 2024 video. I will link it up here, by the way. When she was actively seeking a sports personality, I think she was just cosplaying Victoria Beckham. And in that video, by the way, I laid it all out, that the Spice Girls were an international phenomenon in Nutmeg's adolescent years. And of all of them, I expect Posh Spice was the one Nutmeg really identified with. The fact is that she was attempting, at least this is my opinion, to follow that same Victoria Adams Spice Girl, leaving Spice Girls, hooking up with David Beckham. Well, actually, it's the other way around. Hooking up with David Beckham, leaving the Spice Girls, and reinventing herself years later as a major player in the fashion world, which nobody thought was possible. And now I think Nutmeg has pulled out her Victoria Beckham play sheet once again, and this is where we are going. So, let's start with the fact that Victoria Beckham just did a Netflix docu-series. It was a 3-part series. It was nowhere near as popular or as successful or as well regarded by the critics as the series about her husband David, which was very, very good. I still watch that all the time because I'm in love with his closet. This was not terrible, though. Victoria's documentary was labeled boring, and I can see that. I did watch the whole thing through, but I can see that someone would say this is boring. There was nothing very exciting in it, and it was largely like a nonstop ad for her fashion line. Yeah, I can see that too. I will have to say, though, one thing that came across, and this is something, oh gosh, Nutmeg, you should really pay attention to this. Victoria came across as a genuine human being, a person with depth, and substance, a person who was not afraid to publicly talk about her fears, her anxieties, her insecurities. She came across very real and very sympathetic, something Nutmeg has never managed to do. Never. And my goodness, she was talking about threatening to snuff her own candle. And still, we were all looking at this saying, yeah, right, because we look at anything that comes out of her mouth with a jaundiced eye. But I do think that there is something to this. Now, as I mentioned in that 2024 video, January 2024, I believe Nutmeg was not just kind of sort of trying to follow the Victoria Beckham path. I believe that she was using it as a playbook. I believe it was very, very intentional. I believe she felt if Victoria Beckham could do it, she could do it as well. Did she consider going into fashion at that time? Probably. I think that might have been on the back burner. She certainly imagined that she could hook up with a very famous sports star, keep her profile high, and use that to as a springboard to either get bigger roles in Hollywood. Yeah, okay. I know. Many of you are laughing at that. Or to use it as a springboard to some other venture. Right? So now let's come back to the present and move into the future. At present, Nutmeg's With Love Meghan show does not look like it's being renewed. We know that the Netflix contract has been dropped. Nutmeg speaks about this in terms of, oh, it gives us so much more flexibility. Yeah, right. Like everybody else is beating down their door. I don't think so. Netflix is not going forward. Yes, they are going to maintain a first look option, which frankly, in the real world, we call that right of first refusal, which tends to imply there will be many other refusals down the line. Still, that's where she is with Netflix. As ever has been slammed left and right. Nutmeg has virtually nothing to do with these products. No one believes she's making the wines, and she's certainly not. No one believes she is making any of the products because too much information has come out to contradict that. So we know that what she is doing has been, well, by some of her detractors, it's been referred to as a giant dropship business. Not too far from the truth. She is outsourcing all of her product. She is not making anything. She is buying it from other companies who are making it. The most that can be said, and I'm not even sure this can be said, this is just the most that can be said, is she may end up having some sort of voice in how the product is being made. But again, I don't think that's likely. What the heck does she know about winemaking? What the heck does she know about those packaged shortbread mixes? Nothing. So she's just buying the stuff. In all likelihood, the extent of her involvement is going to some companies that wholesale products like these that are intended to go out under other labels, most likely store brand labels. So if you go into Kroger or Piggly Wiggly and buy a pancake mix with their brand on it, it's probably coming from the same company. So she goes out, tastes the product, says, this is the one I like, and then has her own label and packaging slapped on it. Yeah, that's not a lot of involvement. And I think at this point she's starting to get a little bored with that, but she has a template now. She can take this template and apply it to beauty and fashion. She can hijack other people's designs. And she can probably find people who are young upcoming designers who will sell her their designs and allow her to put her own label on it and take credit for the creation. Because getting ahead in the fashion industry is very hard, and it could very well be that many, many unknown designers would like nothing better than to say, well, this major company scooped up one of my designs, even if the NDA doesn't allow them to speak about which one or what Nutmeg's involvement in the process was. By the way, I'm sure if she takes it in this direction, buying goods from up-and-coming designers, there will be some heavy-duty NDAs involved, and Nutmeg's legal fees will be very, very high. Can she do that? Yes, as ever has shown her she can. As for cosmetics, there are literally many hundreds of cosmetics manufacturing companies all around the world that are currently making product specifically to be sold under other labels. All she has to do is find some of those companies, slap her own label on their eyeshadow, mascara, lipstick, heaven only knows, bronzer. I'm sure that's going to be a big one. And there she is. There is her product line. Why? She learned from as ever. She found out all about how to just buy other people's stuff, put your own label on it, and pretend it's you. And she's managed largely to get away with it. Is her product selling off all the shelves? No, of course not. It's selling out of the limited quantities she's made available. But again, we don't even know what those limited quantities are. We do not know what it's costing her to do this. My guess is, despite the high price tag, really high price tag, on her products, she's probably not making money on this. It is probably costing her a lot of money to buy these products, all pre-made in the first place, and then take responsibility for all of the repackaging, which is very expensive. So do I think she's making anything on this? No, she probably is not. If I had more faith in her intelligence, which you know I don't, I would say that As Ever only existed as a sort of test balloon for the bigger fish she was hoping to fry later, which would be beauty and fashion. So is this the direction she's going in? I would say hell yes. She pretty much told us. She said the same thing twice, 2 separate interviews, shows up on Fashion Week. We are back to cosplaying Victoria Beckham again. Only this time, instead of trying to find her own David Beckham, good luck with that. David Beckhams do not grow on trees. And more's the pity, because I do love that man's closet. But Victoria Beckham had a lot to bring to that relationship that Nutmeg does not have to bring to any relationship she is seeking out. So yeah, was she ever going to get her own David Beckham? Probably not. Because the thing is, men like David Beckham can get the pick of the litter, which ain't Nutmeg. I would say 20 years ago, she might have had a shot at it. Not much of a shot, but a shot. Today, so is this the direction she's going in? Well, time will tell, but I am just going to come right out and say this is what I believe is happening right now. I think we are looking at the ground floor, and what we are going to see is a major push into beauty and fashion. Other people have said politics, but the truth of the matter is Nutmeg is far too thin-skinned to ever get involved in politics. She simply cannot take the heat. Furthermore, I believe she probably has far too many skeletons in her closet. Given what people like, the Reddit posters and YouTube people have been able to dig up about her past, I would say that the kind of private investigators politicians hire would dig up a lot more dirt, and I don't think Nutmeg would ever want to see that go public. Do I think politics? No. I just do not think her house is clean enough to tolerate that level of investigation. Beauty and fashion? Yeah. I think at this point, this is what her pivot is going to be. And I guess the question is anybody going to accept this? Because she wanted to be an actress. She wanted to be a royal. She wanted to be an entrepreneur. She wanted to be an Instagrammer, social media influencer. Now she wants to be the proprietor of a fashion house. People are going to get very, very sick of her constantly trying to reinvent herself and then just leaving these projects by the wayside and grabbing the next new thing. And there is an explanation for that, by the way. Most people get involved in projects like social media influencing or acting, any of the things Nutmeg has been involved in, because they have a genuine affinity for what they are doing. Social media influencers like the limelight. They tend to be very good models. Nutmeg, no, not so much. Although heaven knows she does like the limelight. But working royals, that was never in the cards for her, mostly because of the working part. Yeah, that was enough to sink that ship. Now we're looking at entrepreneur. No, she's buying things from other people and selling them under her own label. Is that starting a business? If so, every dropshipper in the country is an entrepreneur. What is going to happen with this? I think it's going to be more of the same. And I don't think the public is going to be willing to accept this again. I think what will happen is, if this is the direction of her pivot, and I believe it is, it's not going to be a success. Because no matter what Nutmeg thinks, nobody but her fan base associate her with fashion and beauty. The rest of us associate her with looking gaunt and haggard, clothes dragging in the dirt, and in desperate need of a good steamer. What can I say? It's there. It's there for all of us to see. So that is what I have for you today. We'll have to see if my prediction turns out to be accurate, but I am seeing very much a replay of the same things that I saw when I looked back, because I did not follow her in 2015. I had no idea who she was. When I looked back on her life in 2015, I'm seeing the same Victoria Beckham wannabe patterns now. So we'll have to see. All right, thanks so much for being with us. We are going to take a look at a slideshow on the way out. I will find something interesting and pleasant that will have nothing to do with Nutmeg for you. And in the meanwhile, have a terrific day.